Welcome to the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage, where rude mechanicals do magic. Hello, I'm Bronze Age, Director of the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage. And today we're at the lamp bench, where all of this stuff will soon become a lamp. We start off with this nice little ceramic vase. It is completely unmarked, but we can assume it's from some Asian country, and also fairly new. There's no hole in the bottom. So that's the first thing we have to do is mark it and drill it. I've got a center finder here. And since this is not perfectly round, all I'm looking for here is just basically a close enough mark. This brings us to the Packard 12-speed precision drill press, where I'm set up for drilling a hole in ceramics. Now I've made this collar, which is lined with some carpet padding, and that'll help me keep this lined up and snug. I don't want to tighten it too tight, but just enough to keep it from moving. I'm using a 1/2-inch diamond core bit, which is something like this. It's hollow. It has little diamond chips glued to the rim. And the glue is the important part, because you've got to keep this cool. For that reason, I'm going to fill this little depression up with water. I'm kind of turning it to 800 RPM. Now the technique here is you go down, you grind a little bit, raise the bit back up, allow water to flow down into the groove, and just keep going like that, gently, a little bit at a time, and it will go all the way through. Now the thing that holds the lamp together is this lamp pipe. This is called 1/8 inch IP steel, and the 1/8 refers to back in the days when this type of pipe was used for gas lights, and the inside diameter was 1/8. When the gas light manufacturers started switching over to electric, they kept using the same hardware. This stuff is available in 3-foot lengths. I buy a lot of it. If you have a lamp that needs something longer than 3 feet, what you need to do is go with the 1/2 inch, which you can buy in 4, 5, 6-foot lengths. But this stuff would be just too lightweight for something that tall. When I build a lamp, I like to have the pipe held with a nut above and below the base. That keeps everything nice and straight. But you have to make sure that you have enough room underneath the ceramic so that it won't rub against the nut. Otherwise, you would have to cut some kind of relief right there. And there's lots of arithmetic that you could use to measure the length of the pipe, but I think the best way to do is just to assemble it most of the way and make a mark. And that takes all the guesswork and the math errors out of the job. Now for cutting lamp pipe, you need a vise, but you can't clamp this in the vise. It's going to damage the threads, it's going to crush it, and make it basically useless. So a block of wood with a 3/8 hole drilled in it, sawed down the middle, will work just fine, easy to use, and I do this so often, I've come up with something that's just a little bit more handy. It's even got rare earth magnets right there. Make this a one-handed operation. I take my hacksaw, line up on my mark, and I pull backwards. And pull backwards until you get tired of doing that. Because the longer you do that, the deeper that groove's going to get, and the less likely your saw is going to jump off out of the kerf. And that leaves you with a pretty ragged edge. The solution to that is a file. Don't need one this big, but you definitely need a file. And what I do is I start and pull it down until I've got all the saw marks off of it, because I want the end of that nice and flat and straight. Rotate it as I'm pulling it down. Then put a little chamfer on it, pull it down the file, rotating it as I do. And I check it to see if the nut goes on nice and easy. If it does, then that's good. The base has a flat bottom and a hole out the side for the cord. So I put a piece of tape over this so I'll always know where it is, because it will have to be oriented to the back. Now, I like to put a washer wherever there's going to be contact with wood. And anytime I've got a threaded fastener, I put some of this blue thread lock on it. What that does, it ensures that these nuts won't come loose during normal use. Sort of a thing like just handling it or changing a light bulb or something. And I get this nut down to where I want it. There we go. Just even flush with the end of the pipe. And then I do the tightening up here on the top. And it is a problem holding on to this kind of pipe. I've got a shop-made tool. It's a pair of vice grips with a brass coupler that just grabs a hold of it. Clamp that down. And now I'm pretty sure that with the thread lock, that's never going to come loose. Now, nothing in nature is straight or flat. So this is the time when, once you've got your base lined up with the back and you've got the front marked, you look to see how this pipe is in the center, which obviously it's not. Now is the time when you apply a little bit of gentle persuasion to bring it back eyeball center, close enough, that sort of thing. Because it's really difficult to do that after everything is put together. Now the next problem is this cap, because there's no way this is going to stay centered. No matter how tight you tighten this down, there's simply not enough surface area, not enough friction. Solution to that, a little small piece of plywood. I cut it out with a hole saw and then sanded the edges until it fits nice and flush. I'll take some hot glue, dab it around it, put my top on it, and hold it in place until that sets up. And that should do the job. Now a little more thread lock on here and a brass knurled nut. And its job is simply to hold this stuff together so that it can't slip or twist. But it doesn't really need to be that tight, because all of this up here is going to be locked to the pipe itself. And that makes a solid connection between the base and the socket. So we won't have that problem of the socket coming loose and then somebody thinking, well, the solution to that is just turning it, which twists the cord inside the pipe, and then nothing good happens after that. Now this knurled nut on top here, I do want it tight. I want it so tight that this saddle cannot rotate. And it's difficult to get it that tight. But I keep turning until I can't turn it anymore, and I think that's going to do it. Now the socket I'm using is this type with the captured ring on the bottom. When you go to put it on, remember the ring, and this has a lock screw on it because it only goes one way with the key fitting forward. And this little notch here in the back, I'll tighten this screw down, and now it's in place exactly the way I like it. Now before I install the cord, I need some kind of protection at the bottom of this pipe. And I could use one like this that screws onto the pipe, but that would mean that it has to stick down a good bit further. So for this case, I got these little internal ones. I can just stick on there, and that will solve the problem. Now I can run the cord up the pipe, and this job is almost finished. The first thing I do is peel this wire back a little bit and make this little pretzel knot right here. This is called the underwriter's knot, and what it does is it prevents the cord from getting yanked out from underneath the screw terminals on the socket if somebody trips over the lamp in the dark. Now that's not very likely with this lamp. It's going to come across off the table and shatter on the floor, but it's good practice no matter what. Next, lamp cord sold in North America. One side has ridges on the insulation, one side is smooth. If you can't see them, you can feel them. And the socket has one brass colored screw and one silver colored screw. And the side with the ridges always goes under the silver screw. Now this is a very important safety measure because this silver screw is attached to the shell. The smooth wire and the brass screw go to the switch and then to the terminal in the center. Now what this means in the real world, since we have a plug on the end that can only be plugged in one way, if you were to walk into a room and avoid tripping over the lamp cord, and you wanted to turn the lamp on and there was no lamp in the socket, if you reach up and accidentally touch the shell, you won't get shocked. If it were wired the other way and the switch were turned on and the lamp were plugged in, you touch the shell, yeah, you're going to get shocked. Now how common the problem of people sticking their fingers in light sockets is, I'm not really sure, but that's how it was handled in North America. European light sockets, faced with the same safety problem, they just made up the entire shell out of plastic and put the terminals down deep where it would be very difficult for anybody to get their fingers on. And there we go. The customer requested a three-way socket, which is a little unusual for a lamp this small. The bulb is a good bit larger, and that's going to affect your choice of harp and shades. Well, this is Bronze Age for the Secret Underground Laboratory Recovery and Salvage. Thank you for sitting through this video on a custom lamp build. Not the most complicated one I've ever done, but certainly one that showed a lot of features of the difference between a good lamp and a mediocre one or even a dangerous one. So again, thank you for watching. We really appreciate a thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't already.